All the world has fallen to Kyros, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tears, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kyros' reign. 2 armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kyros a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kyros' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tearsmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tears sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
During the Conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kyros' invasion of the Tears, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the tier responds to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. Year 1 of Kyros' Conquests. I'm intrigued. The Bastard City. The Bastard City stood on the northern border between Kyros' empire and the Tears. Built upon the natural harbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tears, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kyros' military conquests. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kyros' armies. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the Tears. Kyros' will is insurmountable. Select a token. Alright, so these are different options. Wait, are we gonna do both of these scenarios? I do like a stealthy approach instead of a brutal fight. Infiltrate the Tears. Both armies sent their forces to prepare the way. History would remember the Gates of Judgments as the first battle of the Conquest, but the real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? Is there gonna be, I don't like the style of the Scarlet Chorus, I gotta say. From the intro. Join or die. That seems a bit too evil. And these guys might be like Spartans, basically. I will aid the Disfavored scouts. It might become trouble later on, as the Scarlet Chorus might not like me. Oh, so we get like little lore bits. Let's aid the Disfavored. You lent your skills to the elite Disfavored scouts to capture a border garrison. Graven Ash insisted that an early victory in the offensive would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. The Oathbound Scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from the aid. You oversaw the precautions and offered your opinions on the strategy. When the clashing of swords and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of Disfavored scouts, you were the least surprised. Done! We have our first choice. Next. Containing the Fire or Inside Agent. So we got an ally inside the city, or we used the resident fire mages threatened the first leg of conquests. I mean, putting down the fire mages sounds like a great idea. Although, if we have an ally inside a city, We could minimize the bloodshed and maybe have like better economy afterwards. And maybe favorable people inside the city. Instead of like having a massacre. Let's see what our options are here first. Your fiercest opponents in the Bastard City were the mages of the School of Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their power responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. How did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? Lure them to a disfavored ambush. A meeting with the voices of Nerat. You tricked the guild elders into meeting with the voices of Nerat, Archon of Secrets. The Archon was notorious for his cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The mages were never seen again. Or we can spring a trap. I mean, I don't like the whole barbaric unbridled power thingy. They sound like wild mages from Baldur's Gate, basically. Which, while they were generally just eccentric spellcasters, these guys seem like, well, barbarians. What about the other options? With the border garrison captured by our disfavored allies, you traveled ahead of Kyros' armies and lurked in the shadows of the Bastard City. You decided that converting one of the locals to Kyros' side would help bring the city to its knees. After all, corruption starts from within. We got enlist a bitter captain of the guard, or a well-connected smuggler. I mean, if we want to get both an inside man and some favor with the Scarlet Chorus, this might be the way to go. You come to an agreement with a well-connected smuggler who knew how to sneak agent of the Scarlet Chorus behind the city walls. The Scarlet Chorus were better operatives than soldiers, and this work required a subtle touch. Done. After accepting his deserved payment, the smuggler uncovered a long-forgotten tunnel that intersected with the sewers to the Bastard City. Armed with maps of the subterranean layouts, your Scarlet Chorus allies fanned out to occupy various cities' districts undercover. They spent the ensuing weeks murdering key officials and sabotaging defenses wherever possible, weakening the tier's capital under the very noses of its leaders. That got a bit bloodier than I had expected, but sure. Betrayal of the Bastard City! Your tactics of infiltration place you in the battle city ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kyros' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the Bastard City? Ooh, we got 3 choices. You challenge the commander to a duel, a fight to the death. The disfavored wish to spare soldiers' lives and civilian lives for the occupations. So we get like a cool ability for it? That's a neat touch. Minus 50 damage and plus 15 health regen. Alright. The Scarlet Chorus, inside a riot. Spreading the word of Kyros, you converted the poor and affected into a hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with these sleeper cells. For that, we gain a Searing Palm. Interesting. And lastly, spread fear through assassination. Keeping to the shadows, you eliminated the leaders of the Bastard City one by one. That's like a very defensive ability. But I feel like this one is going to be the best. Let's go with the disfavored option and spare some lives. One-on-one it is. The city marshal was an old but experienced fighter, and his value to the guard was an accepted truth. After making guarantees for your protection, you met him in the square of the market district and fought in the view of tense onlookers. The battle drew on longer than you thought possible. Good fortune struck when an ornamental chain hanging from the marshal's armor snagged the quillon of his sword, granting you the opportunity to end his life swiftly. Kyros' forces celebrated your return to camp, and the dissolution of enemy morale. All agreed that the bastard city was poised to crumble. Done! We have gotten the city! The bastard city settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kyros' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kyros' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lefian's Crossing, or as war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. Judge and overseer or war advisor? I do like the judge and overseer aspect of the game. So I think we're gonna go with Lefian's Crossing. Confirm. Year 2 of Kyros' Conquest. I love this little intro that you can like customize the backstory, or just skip this whole thing and have like a predetermined thing. Years ago, Lefian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old walls. A pact between the settlers and the mercenary company meant the caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits and bane. What is bane? And the town thrived in modest insignificance. Lefian's Crossing drew Kyros' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kyros' control, the northern smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore and arm the disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in a bloodless victory. Tunon dispatched you to travel alongside Kyros' forces and bring order to the region. Alright, next choice. The Cult of Siren. Siren Archon of Song used her arcane charm to lure locals into joining Kyros' army. As a patroness of the Scarlet Chorus, her efforts were critical to the conscription of new recruits. When an enthralled disfigured soldier joined her cult, his company feared that the Archon was growing out of control and needed to be stopped. So we can side with each of these guys. So these guys... this is gonna be very bad for either party. What about the other option? What's this? The iron must flow. Kyros' smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans that came to light proved divisive to the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forges. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kyros' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. The Scarlet Chorus took refugees and forced them to serve in Kyros' military. Inconvenience to the Scarlet Chorus. Or conscript help from a local tribe of beastmen. But the disfavored don't like them getting access to the secrets of iron. I feel like I've sided with the disfavored way too much. The Scarlet Chorus might not like me, and I do like the idea of having beastmen. Let's do this one. The Scarlet Chorus were overjoyed to learn of a Beastman conscription, and graciously lent their support to your cause. The local Beastmen were subdued and yoked to iron-bearing wagons, where their boundless strength and tirelessness proved critical to the smith mages. The disfavored grew agitated upon exposing the secrets of iron to savages. You attempted to allay their concerns, but your words fell flat before a stubborn, uncompromising audience. So we took a little hit there with our disfavored. We got 2 new choices. Since you aided the production of weapons, commanders of both armies lobbied for additional arms. They offered all manner of bribes to be next in line for a fitting session with the Masters of the Forge. How did you sate the lust for iron? So we gotta choose one again. I'm gonna be the neutral party here. You allow no changes to the orderly dispensation of iron, and punish those who try to bribe you twice. Order must be upheld! Using language that left nothing open to interpretation, you let both of the commanders know that bribery would not be tolerated in Kyros' army. That didn't stop either of them from seeking you out again, making promises of wealth and advancement if you showed special favor. Deciding that enough was enough, you ordered both of the commanders flogged in view of their armies, letting pain and humiliation teach them where reason had failed. Who controlled the crossing? Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the voices of Nerat injured a forge-born artisan, leaving him unable to practice his crafts. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kyros' most responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility towards each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force controlled the crossing. Who controlled the crossing? I'm gonna grant it to the disfavored. We might need the Beastmen and the Scarlet Chorus at the front lines. The disfavored placed a modest garrison in the settlement of Lefian's Crossing, though the force was larger than might have been needed to police a small settlement. Protecting the forge-bound ironsmiths became the true agenda of the defense force, as these magical craftsmen kept the disfavored invasion force suited in iron. God damn, my words are getting a bit mangled right here. Relieved at the departure of the Scarlet Chorus, the citizens of Lefian's Crossing felt they got the least of 2 burdens. You received word from Graven Ash thanking you for your decision. The Forge-bound and their weaponry could not be entrusted to the voices of Nerat. Done! What is next? With the mercenaries expelled and Lefian's Crossing under new leadership, Kyros' forces congratulated themselves on bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a productive flow of resources. Over the course of this diversion, the army front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the Realm of Ashore, Stalwarts, or the Vellum Citadel. I mean, Vellum Citadel has a lore bit, so I think that's going to be our main concern. So that's like a fortress. This seems like an orchard type thing. Controlling the food is always a good idea in war. But this place might have secrets, which could also be very handy for my spellcaster. Arcane secrets. The Vellum Citadel. Year 3 of Kyros' Conquest. The Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Its inhabitants were known as the School of Ink and Quill, a circle of mages that centuries ago carved out their own mountainous refuge on lands unsettled by the other major realms. Legend said that the citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. That sounds great to me. The Overlord spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the Great Library Fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kyros. Our choices are... Chain of Command. A peaceful surrender turned bloody. Siren's song ensnared some stealthy sages. Siren Archon of Song used her power to enthrall enemy mages who crept beyond the citadel walls. After Kyros' forces rounded up the arcane practitioners, the disfavored began executing the new captives before they could share dangerous knowledge. A crime under Kyros' law with the Scarlet Chorus. Wait, I want them to share knowledge with me! Give me power! I don't like this option at all. What about the other one? A detachment of Kyros' army marched on the Vellum Citadel, expecting an orderly surrender. As they neared the main gates, a blast of arcane energy struck the commander's stead. Suddenly the highest-ranking officer alive, Kyros' forces looked to you for the next steps. The call weighed on your mind, as it had an immediate influence on soldier losses. So we can get the horde on them with heavy losses. But there's a survival of the fittest axis, or aspect to it. Or the discipline disfavored. Neither of these choices are very appealing to me. But I think the best idea here is going to be Siren's song, as well as the compromise. You calm the disfavored with a compromise. The sages' mouths would be bound with iron bridles, preventing them from speaking their forbidden knowledge. I must uphold Kyros' law for now. As the disfavored fitted the sages with their restraining masks, the Scarlet Chorus openly criticized suppression of enemy intelligence. You gave the soldiers a stern lesson on Kyros' law and the sensitive treatment on forbidden knowledge. But that didn't stop the whispering and rumors that the Conquest was being mismanaged. That does not sound great. White of Command. Suspicions arose when sages surrendered. The Archon of Song incited Scarlet Chorus recruits to fight their leaders. Bosses were killed and supplanted left and right. The disfavored demanded an end to the practice for the good of the Conquest. I will allow it for now, I think. But eventually these Archons of Song might incite the Scarlet Chorus against me. But having a bit of favor, I will honor their traditions, I guess. Your keen understanding of their ways pleased and surprised the Scarlet Chorus detachment, who thanked you for the ruling. The following evening, 2 gang bosses were murdered in their pallets and replaced by stronger variants, who fought hard to defend their status. Though the camp grew quieter over time, the chorus fought with twice the ferocity under new leadership. Edict of Fire. Food and morale dwindled as the siege party realized the enemy would win this war of attrition. Tunon sent word that Kyros' patience had run thin. Overlord would cast an Edict of Fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Vellum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. I will give them time. Yeah, I will give them time. Claiming they still had spies within the Citadel, the Scarlet Chorus urged you to warn the mages of the Overlord's edict. Granting their request, you met with the enemy under a blue flag of peace and warned them of their doom, giving the Chorus spies and the enemy a chance to run. You confronted the mages with a warning and hoped the message was received. The hour before sunset, numerous figures were spotted fleeing the Citadel. As the sun dipped under the horizon, you read the words of the edict. The earth shook, and a red-orange light glowed in the foundations of the sprawling Citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from window and between loose bricks, melting winding trenches in the surrounding land. Days later, the flames still raged on. The conflagration continually fed and renewed by the power of the edict. Impressive power from our Overlord. The armies of Kyros left the devastation of the Vellum Citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble Citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life. But a message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart from mountains, and as you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters from Kyros' armies, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. Is that it? Yeah! I love this little intro thing, and I'm super excited to start the main campaign, and I hope you guys are excited as well. If you are, let me know by hitting that thumbs up, leaving a comment below, and sharing the video around to get the views up, because views make the world go around. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time.